everybody, welcome to today's video. So today I am basically going to be doing a video all about my experience going to the University of Edinburgh. This is something I get DMs about a lot. People just asking questions about my experience and whether they should come, and just people just want to know more about it, I guess. So today I thought I would sit down and answer lots of questions which are all about my experience. I asked for these questions on a little Instagram poll. Yeah, I got so many responses, like literally pages and pages, but and yeah, I've got like some main topics that I want to talk about. So I'm going to be talking about accommodation, like halls in first year, and then living in second year. I'm going to be talking about my degree, about the teaching, about like the campus, the city, the cost of being a student in Edinburgh, sport, clubs, societies, Freshers Week. I'm going to try and really cover everything in this video. I hope this is helpful if you are like thinking about coming to Edinburgh, or if you are just intrigued as to what my experience has been. Here is a little bit of background about me. I am a second year student, so I've technically, like, because of the whole lockdown situation, I am technically finished second year, in that like I'm home and I'm not going back to uni. I'd have to sit any exams. So I've basically done 2 years of the degree. Yeah, I study economics. I'm originally from London, that's where I grew up, that's where I am right now. Yeah, I didn't take a gap year. I went to uni straight after my A-levels. And a quick disclaimer, everything that I'm saying in this video is going to be my personal experience and just my view and how just what I've felt. Obviously everybody has a different experience, and I'm not saying that this will be your experience if you come, or if you're at the uni. Like, we're obviously gonna have different experiences, but I just want to share my views and how I found it, and then hopefully that will be helpful. But take everything with a pinch of salt, because obviously this is just how it was for me. It doesn't mean that it will be like this for everyone. So I've got so much to talk about in this video, and it's like almost stressing me out how much I want to cover. But okay, so the first question is from Emma, and she says, why did you choose Edinburgh? I thought that'd be a good one to start with. I chose Edinburgh for mainly like a few reasons. I went to a few open days for different universities when I was in my last year of school, and Edinburgh was the one that I kind of felt like I could see myself living there the most and enjoying it the most. Granted, I didn't have that feeling when, you know, people always say like, oh my god, I can just see myself here so much, it's crazy. Like, it wasn't like that, but I was just like, okay, like this does seem like it suits me, and that was one of the factors. I also really loved the city. The city is definitely what sold me. Edinburgh is like my favourite city on earth. Like, it's like the best place. There's so much to do and such a big like variety. Coming from London, I didn't feel like I could really live somewhere but there was like nothing to do, and obviously this was like my position of like privilege, and like I was lucky to be able to choose a university like Edinburgh. But for me, I felt like I would enjoy life more in like a vibrant city. So Edinburgh is a great city, so I'll talk about a little bit about why Edinburgh is so great. So there's just such a variety of stuff in the city. History, touristy stuff, there's decent shopping, there's lots of like independent cafes and restaurants and things like that. There's also like a decent amount of nature, which I think is really unique for a city, especially like really nice nature. You can go to the beach. There's just like a lot. It's a very small city, so you can kind of navigate between everything really easily, which I think is really nice. When I went to the open day, that was one thing that I really liked. I felt like almost like I was on holiday, like I was in a new city with like so much to explore and so many places to visit, and I think that that's like a really fun thing about Edinburgh. So that was one of the reasons. I also like, in Scotland the degrees are 4 years, like typically. Obviously there's exceptions where they're longer, but typically all the degrees are 4 years, and it allows you to take additional credits. So I do economics, and in my first year I was offered 40 credits of economics, and in second year I am offered 60 credits, but you have to take 120 credits. So that means you're allowed to classes from other schools. So I've taken classes from sociology, social policy, maths, Spanish, and that's really like, I don't know, a positive for me. Obviously if you're someone who just, you want to do like maths and you only want to do maths, it's not amazing for you. But for me, I felt like it was good to like study other things, and because of that, it also allows you to switch into different degrees. So in first year I did all of the econ courses that were offered, all of the maths courses that were offered, and also one Spanish course. So I started off doing economics and maths as a joint honours, and then In second year I switched to just economics, and I was able to do that because of the 4-year system, which I wouldn't have been given that opportunity at an English uni. I knew I'd never studied economics before, and I wanted to have like a bit of leeway whether, I don't know, depending if I'd liked it and stuff. So those are some reasons why I chose it. Obviously there are others, but those are the main reasons, yeah. Okay, so the next question is, are the tuition fees high? So I'm gonna answer this quickly. Basically, the tuition fees, how it works is basically everybody's paying like different fees. It's very confusing. So in England, which is where I'm from, the university fees are £9,250 a year, which is a lot of money, and that is what I pay to go to the uni. Yeah, there's like a lot of different fees. It really depends on like where you're from, but for me, every university in the UK costs the same amount of money, so it wasn't expensive. Obviously 9 grand is a lot of money, but it's no more expensive than anywhere else. Okay, so the next question is, you said once in your videos the first and second year don't count. What does that mean? For most degrees, and obviously mine, there's 4 years. The first 2 years do not count towards the grade that you graduate with, the classification of your degree, but you do have to pass. You have to get 40% to like progress into the next year. And then in third and fourth year, you take your honours courses, which are the courses which contribute to the final grade that you graduate with. The next question is, which accommodation did you stay at in first year? So I'm going to talk all about accommodation now. There's so much to say. I could honestly make a whole video on this, but I know that wouldn't be helpful to many people, so I'm not going to, but I'll try and cover everything now. In first year, the norm and what I would recommend is to stay in halls. I don't know anyone that didn't stay in halls. And halls is like university owned accommodation, so the University of Edinburgh owned the accommodation. The accommodation I lived in was called Kincaid's Court. I will put some pictures on the screen right now of what it looks like. I can't remember how expensive it was, but I'll put the price on the screen as well. It was a flat of 5 of us. We had a bathroom and a kitchen which we shared, and then obviously you have your own bedroom. This accommodation actually has 3/4 double beds, so it's like a little bit bigger than a single, so that was really nice. Definitely recommend this accommodation. It was really good location, so close to everything. It is noisy at night, beware. There are a lot of clubs on the street, like literally below you, and you can hear people like leaving the club and stuff like that. So it is kind of noisy, but I did quite quickly learn how to sleep through noise, and I did have some earplugs as well. Like, it wasn't the worst thing in the world. There are quite a few accommodations on that street, which is called Cowgate. I also think a really reasonable price for living in such a prime location. My accommodation was self-catered, so we had a kitchen. The thing about Edinburgh is a city uni, so everything is spread out between the whole city. Like, all of the different accommodations are kind of dotted around the city. You don't necessarily live near anybody. You could live like 30-40 minute bus ride away from other people, which is something to take into consideration. I do think this is kind of a friction when it comes to making friends in first year. One accommodation which hosts like a lot of people called Pollock. This is like all catered, and everybody eats in like a dining hall together for breakfast and dinner, so I guess that's a good way to make friends if you are up for catered accommodation. Like, you get to obviously see people for breakfast and dinner, whereas in self-catered you are a bit more isolated. That accommodation also has like so many people, so you are more likely to be able to make friends just because there's a lot more people living in the same place. There is also like a stereotype of like a Pollock person, which I don't know. I only have 2 friends that lived in Pollock in first year, so I don't really know about it too much, but the stereotype is, I don't know, kind of like maybe a bit stuck up, maybe like rich. I don't know. I don't really want to comment on it because I don't know, but there definitely is like a stereotype with people that live in Pollock. But at the same time, I feel like everyone that lived there really liked it, so don't like let that put you off. But the accommodation there is like kind of expensive, which I think is why that stereotype exists. So, and then I'm gonna talk as well briefly about accommodation and living after first year. So I live now in a private flat, so it's me and 3 other flatmates, and we live in a different area. I've moved out now, but I live in a different area. I know the price of this flat, and it is $475 a month. I'll put in some pictures of my room and stuff. I had a really nice room this year, and $475 isn't, obviously it's a lot of money, but we looked at so many flats that were like way more than that, so I think we got a good deal. Yeah, however, this was not including Wi-Fi and bills, so we had to pay for that on top. Getting this flat was a lot of work. I do get people DMing me sometimes that are in first year and they're looking for flat, and I feel you, because it's really difficult, and it's a lot of like effort and time, and it's also quite a disappointing process. So we went to probably like 20 plus flat viewings before we ended up getting the flat that we did. It's very competitive. When you turn up, there will be like 15, 20 other people at the viewing. That's just how it is, and everybody's kind of like competing for the flat. Different agencies do allocate flats on different ways. So we went to one where you go to the viewing and then it's whoever pays the deposit first at the office, and the office was like a 20-minute walk away. So like we left this viewing and we were like running down the street trying to get to the office to pay the deposit and like get the flat. We were like, yes, let's do it, let's run. And then somebody else got like a car, so they obviously won and we just gave up. But that's a really weird way to allocate flats in my opinion, like literally based on athletic ability. We also went to one where you look at all the flats beforehand that the agency have, and then there's a day which is like a lottery day. You go, you sign like your name, they give you a number, and then this guy at the front has one of those big bingo things and he's like, number 54, and then everyone's like, wow, well done for getting a flat, like good for you. And then you're just sort of standing there with this in this hall of like hundreds of people waiting to get a flat. There was actually so many people there that we didn't even get called. All the flats went before they had called our number, so we didn't get even offered one, so that was a waste of a day. And then there's a lot of agencies where you just apply, you submit a lot of forms, a lot of like information, and then they will just pick. I don't really know how they pick on those ones. That's actually how we end up getting our flat, but we did get rejected from 2 flats before we got the one that we did, and it's just because it's competitive, like multiple people applying for the same flat. Obviously they can't give it to everybody. Beware, there is also sometimes they say you need to have a UK guarantor, which I think is illegal discrimination, but it does happen, so beware of that and maybe think of that in advance if you are like going into second year next year, because I know a lot of people that was an issue for. Somebody said, is it cliquey? And there are also a lot of questions about like just this sort of thing. In my experience, I did not experience this at all. I think this is more something that goes on at pools, which is the other accommodation that I was talking about. I have a friend who lived there this year, and she was saying how like everyone's from like the same boarding school and everyone knows each other, and that culture definitely does exist, so beware of that. However, I have not had that experience at all in any way, so I feel like it exists. There is like cliquey, I don't know, people that know each other already. There's a lot of Londoners in Pollock. I feel like it's a big uni, there's like plenty of people to make friends with. Don't be worried about this kind of thing, and I would say maybe don't stay in Pollock. Next question is it expensive? Travel, food, shops, etc. So Edinburgh I think is probably a bit of a more expensive city to live in. Obviously coming from London and being used to like London prices, I find it cheaper than what I'm used to, but I feel like pretty much everybody else does find it more expensive. So I'd say like restaurants and eating out and that sort of thing is like typical eating out prices. You can definitely go to like really fancy restaurants, but there are also like a lot of more affordable options. In terms of food shopping, there's Tesco, Lidl, Sainsbury's, like you've got like a big range of food shop that you can go to, so I wouldn't say it's expensive in that sense. Travel, it's quite a small city, so you can walk most places, but obviously if it's like late at night or you're just tired, then you can take the bus. The bus is £1.90 for a single fare, which is quite expensive. The bus system is pretty good. Like the buses come quite often and you can get like most places on the bus, so I wouldn't say it's like an especially expensive city apart from rent. Rent is the one thing I think that is expensive. My flat this year was £475 a month, but and when I say that I mean just for me. I think it was £1,900 for all of us together. We saw flats which were up to, like honestly there are flats, you can get flats for like £650 a month plus. Like there is really expensive accommodation out there, and there isn't a good deal of cheap accommodation, especially if you want to live close to uni and just in a good location. Rent is definitely the thing that gets you, I guess, but at the same time you are living in the centre of a really beautiful, like really beautiful city, so obviously it is expensive, but it's not like you're living somewhere horrible. Like the flats are really pretty and old and really nice, and it's not like, I don't know, it is expensive, so in that sense, yeah. Next question is, do you think the economics course is the best there? So I'm going to talk about like my experience with the teaching and everything right now. In my opinion, I've experienced a big range of quality in teaching. I don't think Edinburgh is like known for especially good teaching. I have one lecturer which I love, and I feel like he could make anything sound interesting. He's just so nice and so good at lecturing, and then I've also had lecturers which I find a bit dull and boring and less engaging. We also have tutorials each week where you basically prepare work and go, and then a tutor goes through it with you, and they can be anything from like a PhD student to a lecturer to someone like really high up in the department. That again is kind of like a hit or miss. Sometimes they're really good, and sometimes you just don't click with them and they don't suit you. However, you do always have the option to like switch to a different tutorial group, which I definitely have taken them up on if I don't like the tutor. I have never done economics before, so everything I'm being taught for the first time, and I do feel like sometimes it's confusing and difficult, but that is just the subject. I can't talk about any other course, but obviously it depends on like so many factors. I will say when I was doing maths, that was taught really well, I think, and the lectures and everything were, I don't know, I just felt like that was taught better, and maths does rank quite highly at Edinburgh compared with economics. So yeah, I do feel like there's a big variety, but I feel like that is true at any uni. So do you like going to a city uni, or in hindsight would you prefer a campus one? So Edinburgh is definitely a city uni. The actual like buildings for like where you take your classes are spread out across the city. So social sciences is in the central campus, which is more in the centre of the city. There is another campus called the King's Buildings, which is further out, and that's where like STEM subjects are. And then there's also Easter Bush, which I think is where veterinary is, very much spread out. And I feel like I kind of lucked out doing a social science because all of my teaching is like in the centre of the city, which is obviously ideal, like really nice, because between lectures and stuff you can go to cafes and like do a food shop or just walk around, and like you feel like you're living in a proper city rather than, I don't know, in like a little uni bubble. And I think a city uni definitely suited me. I know that I would be bored if I didn't have like things to do on the weekend and like, I don't know, places to explore. There are obviously pros to campus unis. My boyfriend Joe goes to Birmingham, which is very much campus uni, and everybody, like people meet and walk to uni together. I never had that because like in my accommodation I think there were like 200 people, which is like nothing. So definitely I'd recommend going to have a look, one campus uni and one city uni. I think there's so many pros to city unis, but I do feel like they kind of make it more difficult to make friends. Take that into consideration. And I also do feel like a bit more of an adult living in a city as opposed to living like on campus. In our flat this year we live in a stairwell. There's like 6 flats, and there's families with dogs and children, and then there's some students and some like adults, and it's a real range of people, which I feel like makes you feel a bit more like you're in the real world. Next question, are there foreigners at the university? There are a lot of international students at Edinburgh, I think just because of the way the tuition fees work out, affordable for a lot of European students, and there's also a lot of international like non-Europe students. Yeah, I feel like it's very international uni, and that's one of the things I really like about it. I also had some questions about like if British people like mingle with foreign students and stuff like that, and I would say that yes, in my experience I have a lot of friends who are from other countries, and I think that's honestly like one of my favourite things about the uni, is that I've been able to see like so many people, different people's cultures, and that's really obviously cool. It's also very common for year abroad students to stay in university halls, so pretty much everyone that I know who lived in halls in first year had international students in their flat. There was 5 of us, and I think 3 people were international students, so yeah, really cool. You get to like meet a lot of different people, and I don't think there's any like, I never experienced any cliquiness in that like British people don't want to hang out with international students or anything like that. One of my best friends had like American students in her flat in first year, and we all made such good friends with them, and we were all like really sad when they left, and they were like some of our best friends. So next question, how did you make friends since you didn't get on with your flatmates in first year? My flatmates in first year, obviously it's just a lottery, you don't know who you're gonna live with. They were all really lovely people, like we never had any arguments, they were all very clean and nice, but we just weren't destined to be best friends, and we would never hang out or speak or anything. How I made friends is you get out what you put in, and you have to put in effort to make friends. You have to like ask people to meet up. It is difficult, especially when you're in a new city and a new environment. My advice would be to join clubs and societies. There is a wide range at the university. That's one thing I think they do really well. So many different sports and society, like they literally have everything. So I went to Economic Society, I went to Trampolining Club and Cheer. So I did like a wide range of stuff, and that's definitely where I found my friends. You also obviously have the opportunity to make friends on your course. Yeah, I think just get as involved as you can. I kind of sat around and like pitied myself and be like, oh, I don't have any friends, but like it's because I wasn't making any effort, and you need to like go out and like make friends. It's not like school where friends are just kind of handed to you. You have to actually like work for it. Yeah, it can be difficult at first, but I feel like there's so many people at uni, like you're bound to find somebody that you really click with. Are your lecturers Scottish? Do you understand the accent? Haha. My lecturers are Scottish, but like honestly a lot of them are just from all over the world, which I think is really cool. Like American, all over Europe, some are English, some are Scottish. Like there's just like a real range of backgrounds. In terms of understanding Scottish accents, I definitely do understand pretty much all of my friends. I'd say around like 80% of my friends are Scottish, so I'm definitely used to it, and I understand accent easily. However, when I have like friends from home come and visit, like when Joe comes to visit and we're all sitting in the kitchen, sometimes he's like, when we go back into my room, he's like, I don't know what's going on. So I think there's probably like an adjustment period, but it's like so quick, like literally 1 week and you'll know exactly what's going on. Okay, next one. Thoughts on why Edinburgh Uni's student satisfaction is so low. One thing that is very bad and needs a lot of improvement is the like student support. If you have like mental health problems, there really isn't enough support and enough funding into that area, and this is like a hot topic. Like people are always complaining about this, and rightly so. The university definitely doesn't do enough in that sense, and I think that is a big part of student satisfaction, because university is hard. Like you're living in a new city and you've obviously got like a workload to do, and if you aren't being supported by your uni and you find it difficult, that is like hard, like that's hard to go through. I personally haven't needed any help in that way, so I can't really talk about it, but I know that it is really bad, and I would say that is like the root of why the student satisfaction is low. Right, this video is getting so long, but I just have so much to say. The next question is, what was Freshers Week like for you? Freshers Week for me was pretty good. There's a lot of events on, like at night, obviously like clubbing and stuff, but there are also loads of daytime events. I feel like it's like everything, like you get out what you put in. You go to loads of events, you're gonna feel busy, you're gonna meet lots of people, and that I think is what I'd recommend. I kind of had like a sad Freshers Week. I wouldn't say I was like super happy, just because I'm somebody, I like to like know my friends and like, I don't know the situation that I'm in and stuff like that, and obviously in Freshers Week everything's new and fresh and you don't know like where you stand. I think the Freshers Week at the uni is really good and there's lots of options for like what you can do, but a lot of people find Freshers hard regardless of that, and I wouldn't say like, don't go in thinking it's going to be the best week of your life. Like it definitely won't be, and that's so okay. Like so many people I know say Freshers was like the worst week of their life, and it is honestly like up from there. Freshers is just a hard time, and don't like beat yourself up for it. Okay, I went on a walk with my mum, so the lighting or anything has changed. Sorry, that's why. Okay, but I'm back. I'm going to do a couple more questions. I've honestly got so much to say, but I know this video is really long. What's the party / going out scene like? So obviously, as like most of you know, I'm not a huge clubber / going out person. I don't really drink, but I do have some experience. I went out quite a few times in first year. Obviously I don't really know a lot about it, but I would say there's a good variety of like more classy clubs, and then also more like cheap clubs, and then like lots of nice bars and pubs. There's loads of good pubs, so I think it's pretty good. Obviously I don't really have much to comment, but there's something on like every night, and it's like a good variety of stuff. So Emma said, what's the best bit about your uni? Not expecting to say us. She's actually interested. Okay, already kind of touched on this, but the best part for me about Edinburgh is definitely the city. That's my personal opinion. So much to do. I touched on this at the start, but just like such a range of scenery. I also really like a lot of the uni buildings are really pretty as well. Like the law school is really pretty, and there's also a lot of like more modern buildings. There are also some in between which could do with updating obviously, but there are really nice facilities. And I would also say the gym is really nice. Like I love the gym. I think it's so good. They have such a good variety of stuff, and it's so like new and nice. I've never like been a part of a gym like that, so that's really cool. Yeah, I also think it's cool that I live like in Scotland. I get to like have a more unique experience, I guess, than if I just went to a uni that was like an hour away from where I live. Honestly, like I love Edinburgh. Like I don't see myself anywhere else, so that's the best bit. Okay, and the last question I'm going to answer is, how did you cope with moving so far from home? Edinburgh to London, the train journey is like 4.5 hours, and I'd say door to door it's about 6, because I have to get the tube and stuff when I get into London, so it takes a while. Honestly, I don't feel like it's that far. The issue really is the cost of the train. It can be between like 60 even up to like £90 for a return ticket, which is like, I wouldn't just pop home for a weekend because that's so much money. And how did I cope with going so far away? I think honestly it's like about keeping yourself busy and just joining clubs, joining societies, like immersing yourself in life at uni, and that I think is how you get the most out of it and how you're going to enjoy it the most. It was difficult in first year. I have spoken about this like multiple times. I've also done a video which was my first year experience, and a video which was 10 things I wish I knew before going to uni. So I will link them down below. I think it's one of those things, I kind of always knew I could do it. I'd never gotten homesick before. Like I was never, like as a kid, I was never like scared to sleep at a friend's house or something. But obviously it is a long way and it's also a long time. Okay, so I really hope that this video was informative and helped you out. I know that there was like a lot of information, and I'm sorry that it was so much and it's probably really long. But hopefully I've answered like pretty much all the questions that you guys have. And yeah, I'm doing obviously 2 videos a week currently. We'll see how that ends up, but I still post every Sunday at 10 AM, so I will see you then. I hope you're doing well in these uncertain, difficult times, and I love you all so much. I'll see you next video. Bye!